What's up, everybody? It's Joe La Puma. You are listening to the Complex Sneakers Podcast. To my right, Mr. Matt Welty.
I feel like right now it's like you have a workout you're doing and there's 10 seconds left and you have X amount of reps you need to finish within the 10 seconds. And you
Came in a little frazzled.
You're scrambling to get it done, but you know what? We did it all.
And you're here. The laces are tied finally. You came into the office and it was it was like a whirlwind, but we are here. To my left,
Tasmanian devil.
On one side, we have someone who is a little frazzled, and this guy couldn't be more relaxed, Mr. Brendan Dunne. How are we doing?
I'm here. Welty, I want to know about the rest of this workout. You got to hit us with 10 push-ups real quick or do some burpees. Or the workout is complete metaphorically?
Yes, the workout is complete metaphorically.
Okay, no burpees.
We did some burpees this morning.
Okay, we already have
that stuff's already done, but all the work behind the scenes had to get.
There's a lot of work behind the scenes. We're running around. We're doing a lot of stuff. You know, sometimes we have to cram in. Sometimes we don't have time. I was eating cold nachos for lunch today.
Anything on them?
Some leftovers. Yeah, you know, guacamole, beans, and you know, I need to get back into nachos really heavily. Shout out to Chris Schoenberger and Nick Schoenberger.
Nacho Hunters.
First We Feast and Nike, respectively. Two friends of the program. I think we can call them friends of the program. Is that safe?
Yes.
I mean, I would call them family of the program.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, friends, yeah.
Whether or not they realize it. Two huge nacho enthusiasts.
Leftover nachos are tricky, though.
Yeah.
It's a little soggy.
You might end up with some chilaquiles before you're...
Okay, it would morph into that. Okay.
Yeah, you might have to bring out some fresh, crispy chips to replace the soggy ones that are going on in there.
Are they the same nachos? Are they leftover nachos at that point, or is that just a new batch of nachos with old ingredients?
Wow.
I don't know. It's like that Japanese technique that they used as inspiration for the Sakai LD waffle. I think it's called kintsugi, right?
Little new and little old.
Where the ceramics breaks and you have to refashion it.
Oh, yes.
You know? Something like that. I hope I said that. Kintsugi, also, is that right? Do you have any idea?
I mean, I don't know.
I hope I'm right.
Also, why are you set tripping with that hat?
Hold on.
Yeah.
People off camera, asked about the hat.
Which hat?
I saw your hat.
My hat?
Yeah.
Oh,
I said it's a vintage hat. I get it. It's a vintage hat, but some people think this is not an ad.
Oh. Welty's been very focused on set tripping lately.
Okay.
it comes up a lot at Full Size Ride.
What he says it a lot. You know, what he does though is he picks words and he sticks with them for a few months.
Okay, Welty, to be fair, that is a valid criticism. I did not even think about how I have the AT&T logo on my head, and of course, Complex Network is owned by the Verizon and Hearst joint venture. Right. So that's a fair criticism. That's
not even what I was talking about.
What were you talking about?
The fact that Full Size Run is sponsored by Simple Mobile and you're wearing an AT&T hat.
Wow.
This is not Full Size Run.
That's true.
I love the people at Simple Mobile, though.
A team player?
Apparently this hat was a big...
He's sending a message? He's sending a message right now?
Okay, no hat.
He's sending a message?
Okay. Does my hair look okay, or should I do the hoodie up?
I think you should stick with the hat.
No, the hat's gone. Does the hair look okay?
Yeah.
Put the hoodie up.
The hoodie up the whole episode?
Like hoodie mellow?
No, not hoodie mellow. Hoodie done? No.
Okay.
Hoodie's fine.
Hoodie down, no hat?
Yeah, you're good.
I hope you're happy now, Welty. Are you happy? You look happy.
He's smiling.
As long as you're
He's
happy.
laughing.
As long as you're happy.
You got a nice New England fit on today.
Yeah, I was up in New England.
This is a New England fit.
You had a nice New England weekend.
Yes.
Had a nice New England weekend. Saw my parents for the first time and my sister.
For the first time since
No, just in a while.
Okay.
But yeah, went up to New Hampshire, took the Amtrak.
Loved the Amtrak. How was it for you?
Good.
Did you get the sleeper car? I know you were debating getting the sleeper car.
I like the sleeper car. Do you guys? Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna do sleeper car, and I was debating it, and on the way down, because I had a red eye.
Hold on. Sleeper car from here to New Hampshire?
Yeah.
How long is the trip?
It was like 8 hours. But hold on, it was overnight. It was an overnight situation, so I was going to get it. And I was like, do I get business or a sleeper? Because you can't sleep in coach. Like, that just doesn't happen.
Okay, I have a story, but go ahead.
So I go to check it, and I'm like, it's $250 one way. Not so bad.
For the sleeper car.
For the sleeper car. And I was like, and I think Brendan had actually talked me into doing it.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I took a lot of Amtrak growing up.
So did I.
But the next morning, I go to check the sleeper car again. $450 one way, and I was
almost did a spit take for you real quick.
You could have went to Teterboro for that. Get a
I know,
PJ.
and I was like, nope.
So you were in coach?
No, I was in business class.
Okay.
Never. Okay.
So my mom doesn't fly, has never flown.
Yeah, we talked about this on the Premium Pete.
Yes,
In
never
her life?
flown. We did Amtrak to Florida, West Palm
Yeah.
Beach.
How long is that, Joe?
37 hours.
Supposed to be 24 hours, but it was late.
Yeah.
It was always late.
30 hours.
Huh?
Right? The Kanye song?
Yeah. So I didn't hear that. My mom has never flown, so we went to Florida every year, and her and I and my sister sometimes would take the train 24 hours. It's supposed to be from Penn Station to like West Palm Beach. It was always
Sleeper
late.
car?
28 hours. No sleeper car. No sleeper car ever. And I also remember, which I think I told in the Premium Peach episode of this, they had a smoking car. So to get to the
Iconic.
cafeteria,
Yeah.
you would have to walk through the smoking car, and your clothes would just come out smelling like cigarettes. But so many years on the Amtrak.
Yeah, I had no idea that we had an extended Amtrak discussion on this podcast before. We really do cover it all.
Premium Pete. He said that he wore like Stan Smiths on the Amtrak or something.
He's
and
talking
was, like,
about those I-95
like
trips.
flexing his shoes or something like that.
So I never did a sleeper car until like the last year. But growing up, we would take it a lot from North Idaho to Portland and back, the Empire Builder
How
train. It's about 10 hours or
Okay.
so, and you would get on the train in the middle of the night and then wake up in the gorge in the Columbia River Valley, which is a beautiful sight as the sun breaks.
I feel like in that like part of the country, like getting on the train, you're gonna like hop in a car like off the track, like hobo status or something.
What is a sleeper car like, though? Is it nice?
Yeah, it's
Better than Coach with the... I was just...
It's
and
a
then I
little
remember
cramped.
one year they put TVs on the Amtrak.
On the Amtrak?
Yes, and I was like, this is really... Now
I
we're
never
getting
experienced
luxurious.
that. I never
But
experienced that.
sleeper car...
Yeah, I think there's usually in the small ones even there's 2 bunks
Okay.
on the top and bottom, but it's still your very your space. It's very rectangular.
Okay.
You know, it's not a big square where
very
you can
portioned.
kind of move around. Yeah.
Then I remember in the middle of the night, in the middle of the trip, I think Rocky Mount, North Carolina,
Yeah.
is where there was like an hour layover.
Oh, the worst.
And-
Spokane, Washington. You just hang out there. You just
It's an
chill
hour
for
layover
40
in the
minutes.
middle of the night. So when like
Hour
you're
and a
trying
half.
to go to sleep, it just stops and like people get off, and it's like
People smoking.
you're never
people
going to
chilling.
sleep.
Yeah.
So, and then Rocky Mount, North Carolina is when you would realize, are we on time? Are we not on time?
Yeah.
And always we were not on time. So
Yeah. Joe, I want to mention another thing that maybe will bring back some childhood memories for you. I've been on this pursuit eating a lot more Italian food than I usually do lately, and I was out in Corona, Queens this past week
Okay.
at Parkside Restaurant.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've been there, but
Never been.
It was a treat. We went to get the lemon ice king of Corona right afterward, which also quite
You're
a treat.
doing the whole routine.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
Yeah, man. But it was so funny that just the experience and all the people there right behind us. The whole time there was this pretty intoxicated guy with an Italia hat on, and he was the lines he had were so iconic. He told the waiter
Chendon.
something along the lines of, "If there's no chicken cacciatore, I'm leaving this fucking restaurant
Really?
right
Just
now."
fooling around, right?
Yeah.
If it's not al dente,
Yeah.
we're setting the pasta back.
And then at
Oh.
one point, I was there with a friend. At one point, he got up and he kind of walks by our table because we were right by him. And, you know, he's walking kind of like Vince McMahon would, you know,
The
kind of.
strut?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, the
exactly.
strut
And he
coming
stops
out.
at our table and he looks at my friend has carbonara, which is that a good order at an Italian restaurant?
That's
or is it?
good. Heavy.
Is that
but that's
valid?
good.
Because I didn't
Yeah,
know.
Of course.
So the guy looks and he goes, he turns, so he's positioned right at us. He goes, "Carbonara, God bless," and walks away.
That's a weird thing to say. I think that's my dad has ordered
I didn't know
carbonara.
if that meant that he respected the order, didn't respect the order.
You never know.
Or it's like good luck with that one sort of situation.
Well, it's just carbonara's heavy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
think of like fettuccine, which is heavy.
Yeah,
Carbonara
I
is
had some fettuccine.
carbonara is like that, but like with pancetta, like Italian bacon in it. You know. So good though.
Yeah.
Speaking of restoring the feeling, I know you guys had briefly brought up my trip to New England.
Yes.
On the way back, taking the Amtrak, I didn't even pay attention to what the schedule was. So there was a train I took from New Hampshire to Boston, and then from Boston to New Jersey,
Okay.
there was like a 3-hour gap in between the trains. I had to like get off at one train and then go to another station and take it. So I had 3 hours to kill in Boston at around like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, well, I used to spend so much time here. What am I going to do?
Go see D on Point.
Yeah, did you check in with the Concepts people?
Yeah.
I think they're a little further out.
Okay.
Like in Cambridge area. So like that wouldn't have really worked. So I was like, I need to go outside, touch the people.
Okay. Fresh
out-
off the Amtrak.
Yeah, be outside. So I used to work at this store briefly in downtown Crossings, which is like Boston's downtown area. It's not like the higher end shops, you know, but there's a lot of sneaker stores in there, and the Foot Locker there used to be booming. Like,
And that's the Foot Locker you worked at?
for a bit. Like that wasn't like the store I worked at full time, but I worked there like more than a handful of times when I first started. And that store was like the highest volumes, like one of the highest volume stores in New England. They had like all the shoes, and like being there just felt like in 2008 just felt like you know, kind of electric, you know?
Yeah, you were at the center of something.
Yeah. And I went there and like just to like I'm like I need to go back, you know, and I go there and I was like,
you kids don't even know.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I was disappointed
You know who the fuck I am?
because I don't know if it's like pandemic or anything like that.
It was
but
empty?
like, yeah, there
Well,
was like
wasn't it Father's Day?
no, this was
day after.
this was
Okay.
Monday, but there was like there was like 2 people in the store.
And were you disappointed to see kind of the total lack of energy?
Yes, I was like, oh man.
But when you stepped in, did the memories flood over you? Could you remember people bringing in worn shoes, trying to exchange them, and things like that?
You remember doing the BOGOs, buy
war
one, get one
stories,
socks.
I think I told you guys there was like at the time there was like a guy, he brought in a fake pair of Scarface Air Force Ones, not the black and white split ones, but like a pair of Air Force Ones that
Just
had
Al Pacino.
no,
Yeah,
that
the world
had
is
Tony
yours.
that had Tony Montana like with the gun like screen printed on the
Yeah,
side,
yeah, yeah.
screen printed on the side of the shoe.
Sir,
They had to
I'm
tell the
pretty
guy.
certain this is not.
Yeah,
an
They had to
you're
tell
the
the
one
guy-
who- you're the one who was like, listen.
He
no.
was like trying to return the shoes, and they had to like explain to him why they're not legit. So went there. I was disappointed because there was another regional sneaker store called Expressions that was across the street, but I think they were closed for
And this is a chain type of thing
in New England, for
along the lines of Foot
renovations.
Locker.
And all I remember is going to Expressions back in the day, and they had all the Gino Green
Yeah,
Green
yeah,
Global
with-
on the
yeah,
wall.
yeah,
Is it
yeah.
a G or is it a 9?
Yeah.
No one ever knows. Shout out Papoose for that one.
Yeah, of
Oh
course.
yeah, all over
Yeah,
jackets.
You
Yes.
see those in the pages of Double XL
Yes.
frequently.
Yes.
Frequently.
And then the other place I ended up going to was Bodega,
Of
which I had
course.
not been in a while. But
Yeah.
it
You
was
thank them for the New Balances.
I felt so weird because I wasn't planning on it.
You
but
wore them.
I had them on.
Oh,
and I was
yeah,
like,
right. You definitely
I
played.
know I
like
didn't-
wearing the band's tour merch to the show.
I felt so weird because I walk in and like people are definitely like the workers were like looking down because the shoes like just came out.
Looking down, they were looking at your face like, "Oh my God, it's
Wow,
Matthew
it's
J.
I didn't know. I didn't
Any
get-
pics? Did he take any pictures?
Didn't get recognized
Okay.
at all.
At Bodega?
Okay.
Nope.
Oh my!
Even though they sent me the shoes, did not get recognized, and everyone working in the store had the 990s on. So I was like, oh,
They thought you were the intern.
yeah.
Your
Clocking
shift
in
doesn't
for-
start till 4.
But yeah, it was good. I hadn't been there in ages.
Did you buy anything?
You've been there. You shot Robert Kraft sneaker
Yes,
shopping.
we did Robert
I've
Kraft
actually
there.
never been to Bodega in Boston. I've been to the LA one, but
Bodega was my first byline in Complex.
Really?
50 words. 50 words. It must have been 2006 or 2007. It was a sidebar of a sidebar. And I used to do like help out on the store guide pages. And
Yeah.
Bodega was the first byline I've had. Actually, it wasn't a byline even. It was the
just
first time,
unattributed little
first time I
blurb.
ever wrote in the magazine. And I remember,
what year?
oh, it must have been, I think it was the Pharrell Clips issue where Pharrell is like,
So it must have been when the store first opened in 2006.
Okay.
it was around 2006, definitely. And I remember they were being so secretive about pictures. So like they wouldn't even send the pictures because of the, the Snapple machine. And
Well,
everyone
they used to have a sign there, like because everyone knows Bodega. They were known for having the Snapple
Secret
machine
entrance.
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
like it was kind of like an electric door or whatever, sliding door, and they'd be like no pictures allowed
Yep.
in front of like the most iconic thing. And you know what? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not sure the Snapple machine was still there.
Really?
Was it still secret? Is it still a hidden door to get in?
I mean, so
I've never been. I've been
walk
to the
in,
LA
you
one,
walk
and the
in,
LA one is in like an old produce warehouse.
never been
and
to
it's
the LA
kind of hidden
one.
where you have
So-
to go through this little hallway.
You walk in and it's on Clearway Street, which is off of so Mass Ave is like the main.
Yeah, I know nothing about
Okay,
Boston.
so it's like the main street going to Boston, and then it's like Newberry Street is like 2 blocks up where like all the high end stores
yes,
are.
I know
That's where
Newberry,
Karmaloop,
Johnny Cupcakes.
all that stuff. So it's like it's not too far away from there. So it's like 2 blocks away from Newberry Street, but it's like on a side street.
Yep, I remember.
And it's next to a Christian Science reading room of all things, and it's like it's unmarked, and they had like the windows stocked with like Tide and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Paper towels, I think.
Yeah, and I think when you went in there back in the day, it was more like the actual bodega sort of.
They did more to make it look like a bodega.
Yeah, but now it's like you go in there and it's like it kind of looks like a bodega, but they're selling all bodega branded like merch within the actual bodega.
Gotcha.
Where before I think they used to sell more like actual like paper towels and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
You could buy them?
Yeah, full-fledged bodega.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I
I had no idea.
Yeah, like they used to say when the store first opened that like old ladies used to go in there and didn't know it was a sneaker store in the back.
What an amazing concept, though,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
another thing, we have to address the elephant in the room. The Nets are out of the playoffs. Sorry. We're sorry.
Yeah, I'm devastated.
Bless you. How did you... I was on a flight coming home from Florida, and I planned the flight to the game. So it was 8:30 flight.
Yeah.
And made it the whole game. Then it went to overtime.
Wait, you were watching the game on the flight?
Yeah.
Satellite was crispy?
It was crispy until overtime, and then it froze with like a minute left in overtime, and I didn't know who won the game, so I had to like search Twitter and then found out. But I planned the flight perfectly to the game. What a game! How are you doing? How are you doing?
Yeah, as you can imagine, I'm crushed because I have been a Brooklyn Nets fan for so long. For most.
I mean, you used to be the white Kyrie, right?
That I can remember. Yeah, it's funny. I actually kind of did the opposite of you, Joe, in that I did not plan my evening around the game at all.
Okay.
Because I had a pre-wedding event to go to for some friends, kind of a bachelorette thing, like a party bus, things of that nature. So we were very much in the club, in the dancery with the iPhone propped up, watching streaming the Nets game as it went into overtime, and as it settled in such a tragic fashion. And yeah, I'm upset. It took me a long time to kind of get back to a place where I could really talk about it.
Yeah.
But here we are, and I'm talking about it.
I was reading a tidbit this morning about Kevin Durant, which is so crazy. I don't know if you guys saw it, because Brendan's always joked that KD's feet look like sub sandwiches.
Yeah.
When did he say that?
It's not a joke.
No, because he has like the low top shoe and his feet
Yeah.
are so
Yeah.
long, his legs are so skinny. But he said that he likes his shoes to feel like weightless on his feet, so he actually plays in a whole size bigger than his actual wearing size. So Kevin Durant wears a size 17, but he plays in a size 8.
Now, let me ask you: when you played at the Garden,
Yeah.
and when you did you go true to size in that game?
Yes.
Okay.
TTS.
You prefer
Did
true
you?
to size.
Yes.
Another sporting event, though, that he was attending,
Which?
the softball game. Shoutouts to Ben Felderstein,
Oh
who
yeah,
represented
the
Complex
Foot Locker,
very well.
Champ
Except for-
Sports.
Yes, the Foot Locker.
Foot Locker Kids was also involved. Yeah,
Invitational.
All-Star. Yeah, softball game at the Brooklyn Cyclones softball stadium out there at Coney Island.
You didn't participate, though. Did they ask you to suit up? Did you have a Dunne jersey in the locker room and you just said no thanks, or what?
They had asked me from the get-go if I wanted to play on the team, and I said I will not be playing baseball or any form thereof in public. And I said we have something of a ringer in social editor Ben Felderstein, and so I said
to him.
put him on the squad.
You know
And
where
he
you,
did
you know where
great.
you could have
Yeah.
came in handy though, is if you had been a pinch runner for Ben on his attempted inside the park home run that we had. Actually, it was crazy because we were live streaming it from
Yes, full size run.
full size run,
And it was
then
at that moment,
we're
and I was
watching
like,
Ben come up the bat.
Yes.
And he hit it to the outfield, and we're like,
He's got power.
okay,
got a
is
swing.
how far is he going to go with this? And we're like, no, he's
he
like,
did the little stutter
and
at
then
third
he was
base.
he was rounding
Yeah.
third, and we're like, oh my
He's
god, we're
good, I
gonna
know.
watch him hit it inside the park home run. And I think he looked back for 1 second and then
Yeah, it
went
was-
and
it
then
was
got
close.
thrown out at
It was
home.
close, though. they always teach you in track, never look back.
Yeah.
Never look back. But I applaud him for
Yeah.
going for it.
He had some incredible defensive plays
Really?
based on what I know about baseball. Yeah.
Okay.
I would call him that.
What position was he playing?
Shortstop.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's between second and third.
Who's the most
Yes.
famous Yankee shortstop of all time?
Got to be Derek Jeter.
Yeah, he got it.
Okay.
He got it.
Got to be the captain. I still had my hat on. For those
would've
listening,
tipped
I
it?
took the hat off, but I would have tipped my hat as in the iconic Retupect Jordan brand campaign.
Do you think DeGrom is as good of a shortstop as Jeter?
DeGrom's not a shortstop.
Yeah.
He tried to hit me with the trick question.
He
Come
knows.
on, man. Come
He knows,
on,
I know.
man.
But that was good. That looked like a good day.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Everybody loves free sneakers, so let's get to the giveaway of the week.
That's right. Each week we are giving away a pair of sneakers in collaboration with the people at eBay, the eBay sneakers program. This is how this works. I always want to break down exactly how it works because we're still getting DMs about how can I win a free pair of sneakers. On Friday afternoon, the Complex Sneakers Twitter account will tweet out a submission for questions. You can click the link in that tweet and you can ask us a question on the podcast. If we pick your question to be read out on the podcast, we will give you a free pair of incredible sneakers, hand chosen by us, and they are eBay authenticity guaranteed, so you know they're legit. They may come in a random size. If you don't like the size, you can sell them. No seller fees if shoes over $100. And these
they're
are all
great
well over
sneakers.
$100. Yeah.
They are great sneakers. They're some classics, some grails
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
And today,
Should we get to the shoes first, or
Yeah.
should we get to the question first, or what?
the
the
shoes
shoes.
first.
Okay. Do you know what's in here, Welty? You were asking me. Do you know what's in here, Joe?
I know what's in there.
I've wanted these for so long.
think
One of
I
those
forget.
shoes that once the SB hype popped off again in the past
Yep.
couple of years, it just became almost unattainable in terms of price.
Very rare.
A Futura
Oh.
SB Dunks, and this is a timely shoe right now, given his legal battles with the North Face. I hope that turns out well for him. But yes,
Yes.
you can see the eBay authenticity guarantee tag right on there. This mesh on the tongue. What a beautiful shoe. Not
Those are
the
great.
craziest looking shoe, but just
Which
Just
do you,
a great
which do you
Fastball
like
down
more?
the middle. Great
Yeah.
shoe.
Which do you like more, those or the Uncle Dunks?
the Dunkel was so wild, and I think better encapsulates that era of Nike SB because it's graphic and it's pink and stuff. Like this is a little bit subtler, and I think this is easier to wear. But I may like the Dunkels more, but I don't have the Dunkels.
Tough to compare.
Yeah. Futura SB Dunk. And we do have a question to answer.
We do have a question, and it's a good one, and it comes from Jake Herman from Massachusetts. The question is, have you ever copped a shoe that wasn't your size, but you wanted it so bad that you just had to get it? I have recently.
Okay.
Which?
What was the shoe?
Do you know it?
No.
Not my size, but it was basically as close to a collectible. You actually said you'll put it on your mantle, which I don't have a mantle, but wasn't my size, not wearable. The Reebok G Unit
Oh, yes.
sneaker signed
Yeah.
by all the G Unit
I love
besides
that.
Tony Yayo, who
I love
was
that.
locked up at the time. And I got
Free
that
Yayo.
from
But PG.
yes. Yep. I wanted him to say it. Our
we
friend
talked about-
PG.
yeah.
I think we went a week without mentioning him, but
Yes.
we're back on it. So.
But that
It went
was
a couple weeks.
size 10. It's not my size. I wouldn't have worn it anyway.
Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
that's a little. Is this like a little bit of
No, that-
kind of? This
Count-
counts,
it
right?
Counts to a certain degree.
I would have loved for it to be in my size, but again, signed by the whole G Unit. We will put a picture up.
And Shaw Money XL.
Shaw Money XL, yes. So that was one where it wasn't my size. Happy to have. Definitely, whenever the man cave happens, it's going to be front and center. But that was one recent one, and one
do
that
you do that regularly? Because
No.
I really don't. I try not to do this.
no, I don't do it regularly.
Is it going to be right next to the Cristiano Ronaldo JLP?
Poster
Yeah.
and the Roger Federer racket?
Yeah.
Maybe,
There you go.
maybe.
Here we go.
But yeah, so that's mine. Have you? I don't know if I could see you doing
I
that.
actually have a funny story
Okay.
that ties back to because I didn't think there was anything I bought that wasn't my size. So when I was working at Foot Locker in New Hampshire in 2007, they had kind of like a turnover of the staff.
Okay.
Where they had like brought in a new manager, but like there had been old stuff that was like sitting in the back like forever that like probably should have been like shipped out at some point, but like the old manager like never did anything with it and kind of forgot about the shoes.
Okay.
So I'm out back and I see like a Jordan box, and we didn't have like a lot of retro Jordan product at all. And it was a pair of white, pink, and green Air Jordan 14 lows, women's pair.
Okay.
Pink ink. I do not remember that.
Me either,
colorway, but
but
go
okay.
on.
Anyways, and the shoes were on sale for like $20. Like with the discount, they were like $14 or something like that. And I was like,
$14?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Corny
Like,
shoe
yeah, because
territory.
I'm sure it was one left in the company.
Yes.
Sometimes you would find one, and we've talked about this.
Yeah.
You call up, oh, there's one sneaker in this part of the country, but sometimes in your own stockroom there was one shoe left, and it was dirt cheap because it should have, like in the accounting, it should have been gone and sold.
And the shoes are like 5 years old or
Yeah,
whatever. So I'm
yeah.
just like, they're like $14. I'm like, it's a old retro Air Jordan. I'll just buy them, and then at some point, maybe the shoe, like, I don't know, like maybe I could sell it at some point or whatever. This is like pre-StockX and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't know what to do with it. So I just like threw the shoes in my trunk and just like completely forgot about them because I'm like, it's a size 7.5 women's shoe. Like, what am I going to do with this? You know? And then I end up working at another Foot Locker store, and I was like, oh crap, I have these shoes, because they had just like, we had like, some girl had started like working with us, and she was that size, and I was like, hey, like I have this random pair of Air Jordans, like I paid $10 for them, like you can just have them if you want, like whatever, like I need to get rid of these shoes. Boom, I just give my coworker the shoes, and then like 4 months later, she was like, oh, thanks for giving me those sneakers. I just sold them for like $150. And I was like,
Early flip. You got to respect it.
You were offended. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I wasn't offended, but I was like, oh damn, I gave you like I didn't think of it as like a gift or anything.
Yeah, but it was like a welcome.
Yeah,
It was like a hookup, you know?
What
Like,
year was
welcome to
that?
the
She
team.
was early to the reselling game, huh?
yeah.
I don't do this too often, and I think it's kind of a cheating thing in terms of real sneaker collecting, because I think if you're adding stuff to your collection, it should always be stuff that you can kind of wear.
1000%.
You know, like I would never go buy a random, I don't know, 85 Jordan 1 if it wasn't in my size that I could wear one day, even if I wouldn't wear it. But I still do end up with random stuff. You know, sometimes when shoes are selling out really fast and you're just clicking around trying to get a size, and because a lot of times when I'm buying shoes, I'm just like, oh, if I end up with a wrong size, I can just sell it or trade it. Yes, Joe, but like the trading thing never works out. Like a lot of times where you have, I'm a 10.5 and I have like a size 12 Nike LD Waffle randomly, or a size 7.5 Jordan 1 bread from years ago.
Got it.
And in your head, you're like, oh, somewhere down the line, I'll be able to find somebody who has my size, and it'll be a real easy one-to-one thing. Never works out. But I like having random sizes on deck a little bit, and maybe I'm contradicting myself, because it's nice to hook people up or help people out, where there's people in your life where they're like, oh, do you ever get my, you know, you get that question so much. Whenever you have a size 8, and you're like, I'm a size 10.5. Why would I ever have a size 8? But then when you do have stuff that you can help people out with, or give someone a pair of shoes that's your friend, and they're not necessarily into sneakers, and they get hyped over this random thing.
I had that happen recently. So I think for a full size run shoot, I forget, like last year or something, they'd asked us what shoe I would want for some sort of skit that we were doing.
Yeah.
And I just like picked out some random like GR like ZX 8000, you know, and we bought it from West NYC.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Lester.
Yeah.
Chirping
And it was
chicken.
supposed to be an 11, and they ordered, I don't know if they ordered the wrong size or something. Somewhere it got mixed, and somehow I got a size 10, and I wear a size 11. So I'm like, there's no way I can wear this shoe. But there's this guy at the bar that's like right around the corner from my house who wears a size 10, who I've known for years, and he's always
love
like,
that.
and
That's great.
And he's always like, why aren't you giving me shoes? And he always like busts my balls about it. You always said like, you're gonna give me shoes, you're gonna give me shoes, you're gonna give me shoes. And I'm like, all right. And then and then finally it clicked in my head. I'm like, oh my God, you wear a size 10. I have a pair of size
Perfect.
That's awesome.
10, and
And then he resold them for $150.
What a generous guy. Yeah, well,
Yeah, he resold them for $150.
Giving away all these sneakers. I love that. And again, we are giving this pair away. Futura, Nike SB Dunk. Jake, you're getting a pair of these on the way soon from the eBay Authenticity Guaranteed program.
Great pair. And now it's time for our guest. Our guest on today's podcast is one of the most prolific footwear designers of the last 30 years. As a track runner in high school, he would wear New Balances, and it spawned his passion for sneakers, more specifically sneaker design. His first job out of college was an early full circle moment, working at New Balance and designing some of the legacy models that are even more prominent than ever today. The 1500, the 997, and the 576, to name a few. From New Balance, he went on to work at Adidas, Reebok, and then Nike with the thought of design disruption and sneakers with staying power in mind. His catalog of designs across those brands include the Adidas Artillery, the Reebok Insta Pump Fury, the Nike Shox Monster, Nike Air Streak Spectrum Plus, and the recently re-released Nike Air Spirit-On Cage 2. He's done a ton in 37 years, but currently his role as design director of Yeezy Lab has him working alongside Kanye West on his billion-dollar Adidas empire and designing your favorite new Yeezy silos. Do we even have to name them? We'll get into all that and more on today's episode with the legendary Stephen Smith. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
How you doing?
Oh, not bad. Yeah, it's Oregon and the sun is out. One can never complain when that's happening.
A rare occurrence. Stephen, did we miss any sneakers? I feel like we missed a few sneakers
sure we
because you've
did.
designed every single sneaker. Do you just want to keep naming sneakers that you've designed?
Oh, I don't know. There's a few. I mean, there's quite a few I've forgotten. I mean, it's nice to see the 550 New Balance back. That's another fun one to see.
Oh, we're going to get into that one. That's one I definitely want to talk about.
Nike Vapormax.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The Cage Zoom Spirit on, Max 2009. Oh, Pegasus Structure.
Just get the CVS receipt out.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Shox D. I could keep going. I got to think about them.
Hopefully it comes up as we go along.
What's the worst sneaker that you've designed in your own estimation?
I don't even want to talk about that one. It's really bad. It's forgotten, and thank God.
Wait, can you talk about it without naming it? I'm actually quite interested in this.
Same.
I could tell you what it's called. Thank God there's very little info on it, although I'm sure someone will dig a pair out. It was called the Shanktastic. It was a total piece of shit.
What brand was that for?
Nike.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Man, you've been at every single brand. I think we want to start here. We'll go to a couple different places, but your first role in the industry was working at New Balance in 1986. Do you remember just like how different sneakers were back then? Like, did people really care about sneakers, wearing them not for athletic wear? Like, how important was the sneaker culturally at that point when you entered the industry?
You know, early computer and tech guys would wear them.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs.
Kind of one of the biggest turning of the knob to open the door was Casual Friday, you know, and that's when people started to just wear like white tennies on Friday with my Dockers. And that was kind of like the beginning of athletic footwear as weekly or business attire. But I mean, it's just Casual Fridays. That's it. So that's all I can remember industry wise. I mean, we got to obviously because we worked in a frickin' shoe factory. So, that's what really appealed to me about New Balance was that I could wear things that I loved every day. And even better when I got to design them and wear my own designs.
Steven, one thing I love is that we'll see you in the comments and it's like, I'll hit these guys and I'll be like, wow, he did this shoe as well. And one that came up just now that is more prominent than ever, the New Balance 550. You see it with the uptick in Ame doing the collab, and now even inline models hitting like Foot Locker. Talk about that shoe and what it's like to see the reemergence of that sneaker.
It's pretty wild. Like I never forgot about all the stuff I did at New Balance. It's just the basketball ones were kind of obscure because they weren't, other than the Worthy Express, we weren't really known for basketball. We kept trying and trying and trying with releases. So yeah, it was a real surprise to see that one revived because some of the others, like the Cage Zoom Spirit On and then the Zoom Spectrum, those were kind of obscure for Stussy and Supreme to pull out. So this one was even more. I was like, what? I forgot about that one. Back in those days, when I got to New Balance, me and this guy right here, Kevin Brown, Brownie used to like to do all the basketball shoes, and I used to like to do all the running shoes. But we would trade off every now and then, and it was actually kind of fun because Brownie was a wacko eccentric like I was. So we were the entire design team, and would sit there and go like, which one do you want to do today? Well, I don't know. You want to do this one? And like, okay. And so he and I would have these kind of friendly competitions as to who could make the most elaborate tooling and bottom units and just mess with the development guys and the marketing guys at New Balance.
Just pushing the envelope just to do it.
Yeah, just to aggravate them. And we're like, well, we could put a color dam here. We could break it up here, and it can go up at this funky angle. And they're like, you can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. And Brownie, I'd be like, ha, 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 ha. And I'd be like, watch this one. I'm going to add like 6 color breaks there. He'd be like, oh, no, let's do 7. And like, let's hide this in the tread pattern. And we would play all kinds of little games just to mess with them. Very, kind of subversive. And Brownie was a good character. So he did like the worthy, and then I was doing some of the more mid-price models just so that we could get the whole collection out at once.
Did you ever imagine that Hailey Bieber and like downtown New York City people, the 550 would become like the shoe of the cool guy moment right now?
Oh God, never.
It's all over the city.
It's wild. I'm gonna have to get a pair, I guess.
You don't have a pair, Steve?
You're not going to
So I
send...
can-
Teddy didn't send you a pair?
No, it's funny when I left New Balance. I grew up in a fairly working class town, and a bunch of my friends were, it's New England. They were townies. They were going to stay there the rest of their life, and they had just regular kind of jobs. Any of them that were size 9s, I gave them hefty bags of shoes because I was going from my first job at New Balance to Adidas, which was a competitor, so it's kind of frowned upon to have competitive stuff. So I just gave it away to all my friends who didn't have really good paying jobs and stuff. So it's like, here's my gift to you. I'd give them like 20 pairs of New Balances at a batch of all the prototypes and stuff I had. So a lot of those I just gave away. So I didn't have a lot of the basketball stuff. So a lot of my friends actually played basketball more than were being runners. So I was more than happy to give them to them as gifts.
Steven, before we shot this show, we were talking about the 574 and 576. And I think it's interesting because I know you had told me in the past that you designed the 576 and then someone at New Balance took all the expensive parts out of it and created the 574. And then the 574 ends up becoming New Balance's like biggest shoe of all time. Is it crazy for you to see that happen to one of your shoes and the legacy you have at the brand?
Yeah, it was kind of funny to see things potato-headed at that point in time, because it wasn't really the normal to reuse a lot of tooling like that. We would start from scratch because technologies and things were evolving in our business so fast that you'd update it because you could make it better. And so it was funny to see it take a step backwards, but I guess in the end it was the right move because it made it more price point accessible for people, which also, you were getting that great New Balance shoe with the upper fit and the material and the quality, with a little bit of a dumbed down midsole, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. That's probably part of the success, is getting the value. You look at the dad shoe. That was the dad shoe appeal. It's solid value.
Were you pissed off, though? Because I feel like that is a moment where Stephen Smith, the designer, could clash. And I know this has happened a lot over the years with Stephen Smith interfacing with other people inside the company. Or what have you done to my thing?
No.
No, I'm totally wrong on that.
Me? No, that's... I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Again, it was the right thing to do, and it made it more successful, all the better. It's just when people were doing stupid things that I would speak up about it. And I just before the call-in, I dug out some stuff out of my archives, and I have one of those that's a topic for that with the Spirit on, for example. But it is funny that people kind of were a little scared to talk to me about stuff.
Do you like the 574? Because working at Finish Line back in the day, we sold so many of them, and now even like Welty, when I bring up the 574, he's a little like, I guess maybe his like, because he knows the backstory. I don't know.
It's just, I feel like everyone like 574 is like where you start for New Balance. It's like the most accessible one. Okay. But New Balance is also known, like you had said, like for its like most expensive and premium products, and like the 574 is kind of like the
2 for $89.
the
I finished
cheaper version of
right.
like the actual like high-end New Balance shoes.
There were some good ones though.
It's still good, solid comfort, and it's great, a great art piece to throw colors all over and create new variations that you never imagined. I mean, that's the coolest thing to me, is seeing all of these shoes that I've done over the 37 years, is seeing people reimagine what they can do with them with different colors and materializations. I mean, beyond whatever I imagined it to be in the first place. So to me, it's more fascinating than anything to be upset about. I mean, I think it's cool you can get so many variants. Like, I wanted to buy a pair, but I'm like, which one do I get? I kind of like 10 different colorways. So, I ended up getting one that matched my race car and my pair of 574s that I finally bought myself.
Steven, you're talking about shoes done up in other colorways. I think an early on cool crossover moment was you designed the New Balance 997, and then United Arrows ended up doing the 997.5 in that gray, pink, and purple colorway. And that shoe kind of became a cult status because it got worn by Kanye early on when he was dating Amber Rose.
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment in specific and thinking that was a big thing?
No, I think I was too buried in Nike world, because it can be cult-like, and you're focused on that and performance and Olympic athletes, and that's kind of where my head was at.
Did you guys remember? Like, did you know it I remember that
Yes,
picture.
yes.
Did you know when it came out? Did you know exactly what it was? I remember blogs were writing like the mystery New Balance Kanye is wearing.
I
Did
think
you
I had
know
to.
right away?
I think I
that-
had to dig into it a little bit, but just remember seeing the moment and being like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
Yeah, Steven, I want to keep tracing your career. So, how did Adidas get you from New Balance? Like, did they poach you? What was that transition like, going from New Balance to Adidas?
Well, it was really funny. It was kind of my first job, and I grew up with parents of the 50s where it's like, that's your job for life. You get a job, you do well, and you get the gold watch and you retire. So it was kind of an alien concept.
Stay there for 2 years and then move on.
Yeah, it's like you stay there for 20 years.
Yeah.
In that kind of mindset. So my development guy, this guy Dana Giudice, he quit and went to Adidas, and I was bummed. I'm like, man, Dana's like my best development guy. What the hell? And so he got down there, and then he called me, hey, you want to come down here? And I said, I don't know. Adidas is like, it's kind of the brand scale. It was like the next big level thing. It was a global one versus, at that time, New Balance was kind of a regional American one.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, I'll come down and talk. So they flew me down, and my brother lived in Jersey, and that's where Adidas was based at that time. So I was like, if I get a good bump in pay, I mean, I could live with my brother and save some more money. And so I went down there, and they were going to double my pay.
Really?
And I went back up to New Balance, and I was like, hey, Dana brought me down to Adidas to talk about going down there. This is what they threw out there. I mean, would you guys, and my parents brought us up to be very honest, loyal, and moral. And I was like, look, this is what they threw out there. What do you guys think? I really like it here, but what can you guys do? And they're like, well, you know what? 25,000 is all a designer will ever make at New Balance. I said, okay, what about 5 years from now? They're like, nope. I said, how about 10 years? Nope, that's it. That's the cap. And I'm like, well, they're offering me almost twice that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And so I decided to go work at Adidas at that point. And, it was an opportunity to kind of help repair the brand in the U.S. because it was their reputation was wavering.
Yeah.
And New Balance was just kind of, it's funny to see how big they are now, because it was like $112 million in sales at that point. It was kind of small.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I ran in countries when I was pre my 990s, and I was like, yeah, I'll go give Adidas a shot. Why not? And my brother was like, yeah, it'll be great to have you down here with me. So I went and did that. But it was it was an absolute freaking shit show.
You did the artillery there at Adidas, and some sort of connection. I saw a couple weeks ago you had the whole Bape Cuddy fit on your Instagram, and he did an Artillery Adidas collaboration. Did you talk about that with him at all? There it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole fit.
You know, I was at Adidas one day and I saw it and I was like, what are these for? That's my old Artillery. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, these are the Kid Cudi specials he's doing for some movie. And I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
You know, because I had met him down at Kanye's, but I didn't know. Yeah, I don't think he knew I did that shoe. So it was kind of cool. You know, it was a nice acknowledgement culturally to see it come back. You know.
Definitely.
So from that era, you know, I brought out one of the
Bring them things out.
the original Phantom 2 sample, circa 1988.
Okay.
You know, so that was kind of a fun one to do, and that was part of that whole grouping. We did three shoes: Artillery, that Phantom, and then we did the what they called the Reload, which I think was, I don't know what they called it, something else. When it went to retail, the Artillery was like the second torsion shoe for basketball. So
Your time at Adidas was so brief, and then you kind of move on to the Reebok thing, where you were there for I think eight years, and kind of some of the most memorable shoes of your career, stuff like the Reebok Insta Pump Fury. I want to know, when you were at Reebok, did it still feel like Reebok was battling with Nike? Because you think about the 80s and Reebok and Nike were going at it so much. Was it still very anti-Nike in the Reebok building when you got there in '89?
oh yeah, I mean, and it was in 1991 where we passed Nike as number one. You know, it was a constant battle and a fight for number one. And you know, you'd go to Super Show and you'd sneak into their booth because they wouldn't let any competitors in. So we would call up NSGA and figure out what the badge color was for the buyer badge, so we'd make fake buyer badges so we could sneak into everybody's booths.
You were faking credentials so you could get into Nike's booth and steal, well, I won't say steal trade secrets, but to see the stuff they were making?
Just to see what was coming. You know, and they're like, "Where's your store?" I said, "Oh, just in a funny little place in Massachusetts."
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you know, how many shops you got? Oh, just two. You know. So it was kind of fun. You'd get all the sales brochures with all the pricing, and
Yeah.
it was kind of fun. Covert spy shit.
Subterfuge shit. That moment that you surpassed Nike in sales, was there any party? I'd imagine Paul Fireman would want to throw a big hoopla once Reebok took that number one spot.
It was a pretty big deal. They sent us all these like the Edge Glow neon orange plexiglass number ones for our desk. That was like a little paper holder and stuff.
Is there a giant Reebok pump cake or something?
Yeah, that would have been good. But you know, they treated us well there. You know, Fireman was a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
I still like him a lot. You know, he treated design well.
Steven, I think the highlight of your Reebok tenure is the Reebok Insta Pump Fury. You know, you've spoken about it with the Complex Sneaker of the Year book. We talked about it. We featured it for 1994 Design of the Year. And you said that shoe was so disruptive and the colorway on it was so disruptive that, like, you were in there, like, arguing with, like, the marketing guys and telling them to go fuck themselves and all that.
Oh, I might have said some things like that, yeah. You know, if you believe in something strong enough, and you know, it's like your child, you're going to fight for it, and you know it's right. And you know, and throughout my career, those that I've known that I had an inkling that it was right, I fought for. You know, and it. Looking back on it, it was worth the fight, because there it is, it's a huge piece of their heritage and the brand. And it's funny, it comes out again, and you know, whenever you want affirmation that it was the right thing to do, you know, this just came out. This is an exhibit that's going to be in London at the London Design Museum, and it's funny as you read through it, some of the younger designers in here say, you know, I saw that Reebok Fury and I wanted to design sneakers. So it's pretty cool, and they kind of nicely call me out in there. So it's, it makes you feel good because you did the right thing.
Steven, did any of the validation from that sneaker come from the pop cultural moments associated with it, like Steven Tyler wearing the Reebok Insta Pump Fury, or any other famous people in it?
Was it Jackie Chan wore the shoe?
Yeah, the Jackie Chan as well. Were those a big deal to you?
Yeah. Oh, when it was out, seeing Steven Tyler in it was freaking mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, the rock god, and then Bjork, because you got
That's
Steven Tyler, who's 70s till today relevant, but at that point, Aerosmith was huge for a kid from Boston to see his product on, and then for contemporary relevance to see Bjork wearing it, to have that spectrum of 70s arena rock god, wackadoo Steven Tyler, and then Bjork avant-garde contemporary artist, it's amazing to see that scope and breadth of who it appealed to, and then when Jackie Chan wore it, that just really opened it up even further in Asia Pacific, and I think that's what kept it alive more than anything, was that opening up of people's eyes to it in the Asia Pacific region, because they're still one of the biggest areas for demand for that product. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, it was worth the fight. It was worth calling people fucking assholes, because here it is, and then those people are gone, are forgotten, and I'm here, the sneaker's there. It was the right thing to do. It's in the London Design Museum, for God's sakes. Come on.
Wow.
But Steven, to go into that whole, and I think it's kind of important to kind of show the listeners your the attitude you've had with all this and fighting back and forth. And I know you said that after you left Reebok, you had to go into the office and you stole all your original designs and kept them in your own archive.
Well, it was funny. I didn't actually go in and steal it. A lot of the stuff they were tossing.
Let's not use the word steal.
Yeah, let's not use. But as new people came into the team, or we relocated to different facilities, a lot of that stuff would just get tossed, and you'd be like, "Well, I'll save that. That's silly to have that thrown out. That's history. That's part of the archive of it." So I saved all that. When I did quit, I selectively removed designs from my desk, which was notoriously a foot high, full of piles of designs and ideas, because it was just this fire hose of conceptualization, so much that Reebok couldn't absorb it, of how much was coming out. And Litch and Peter Foley and I we tried to make it all, and Reebok to this day still harvests work from those days. But yeah, I selectively took the drawings and things that I thought were relevant and important, and kept those. And if you look at it and go, oh, well, maybe that was unethical or whatever, but it's my portfolio, and I needed it to get my next job to show what I did. It's your work. It's still your pieces. And today, Reebok's archivists,
shout out to Aaron Narlock,
giddy that it exists, because a lot of it got thrown out as they moved around campus to campus to campus. And so I have 50% of the Fury history, and Litchfield has the other half. If we hadn't taken it, it would be lost forever. So they're just happy to have it and have access to it, which I freely let them borrow things for their perusal or reinvention, or to see a detail how something was done. I loan it to them all the time.
Steven, you did a brief stint at Fila, but then you go on to Nike. What were those early years like?
Nike was a lot of fun then. Phil Knight was still in the game with us every day, and it's always great to have the founder there, because they're the heart and soul of what it was about. They embody the risk taking. They embody the brand ethics. I mean, Bill Bowerman was still alive. I got to go spend time with Bill, which was really cool, and capture that spirit of what those guys did, that spark that created the brand. Because as brands grow, that mentality that got them started, that rebellion, that offering something different, gets diluted over time. So it was great to have those guys there to be the spirit of it and pick their brains on what, or ask them, what would you do about this? And they would bluntly tell you, and you'd do it, and you'd get the information straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And as Phil stepped away, the culture changed a little bit, and it wasn't as product and performance driven as it was when I got there. Things kind of tapered off to a point.
You got there in 1999. Was it weird to be at Nike after being at war with Nike, kind of in those Reebok years? How strange was it to finally step behind the berm, as they say, and be part of this organization that you had kind of worked against in your other roles?
Well, it was really funny. I went there and I interviewed in early '92. I was flown out to meet with Tinker and Mark Parker.
Oh, wow.
And
presumably the first time you met Tinker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very funny that they had just moved into the Jordan building. That whole, the initial side of the campus was brand new. And in those days, you brought your work in the form of slides. So I brought my carousel and I brought my slide sheets. And it was kind of funny for the leader in the game. They spent all day trying to find a slide projector, which they couldn't.
For that 1992 visit?
Yeah, so Tinker's sitting there looking at my slides on the window, like, oh, you can
Holding them
draw,
up.
kid? And I'm like, yeah. So he was like, really nice, amazing. And you'll hear from us. And so I was like, great, that'll be kind of cool. I liked it. I came out to Beaverton, and it was, the campus was nice. And I went back to Reebok, and we were on one building. And it was a nice building and all that, but I mean, going to see the Nike campus was like, holy crap, you have no idea. It's like being a warrior in the jungle, and all of a sudden you go see like a B-2 stealth bomber.
Yeah.
And you go back to the jungle, and they're like, yeah, we're going to kick their butts. And you're like, you have no idea what you're up against. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And I saw it. And after that visit is when I went back, and I never heard anything back, so I was kind of bummed. And then I got a rejection letter, and I'm like, son of a bitch. And so
No particular reason
I
why Nike didn't hire you back after that 92 visit?
Nothing. And so I still have the plane ticket stub and everything from when I went. I got my rejection letter. I saved it all. I put it in a drawer. And I went back into my sketches and stuff, and I pulled out some stuff that would become the Fury. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to design the shoe that you son of a bitches wish you had.
Born of your literal fury.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I redeveloped that sketch, and out it came. And at that point in time, shortly after it, there were all these people who were collecting early Nikes and Air Maxes and the Fury. So there was these ads of like looking for, this Max, that Max, this Jordan, and the Fury. And it was the only Reebok that at that point had ever attained that same kind of status and desire of collectability. So I'm like, see, it was probably should have been destined to be a Nike at that point, So it was kind of like retribution to actually get in there finally. I went and asked Tinker. I'm like, dude, what the hell happened? He goes, oh, I thought we hired you. I'm like, well, it's like you never went and checked on it.
Steven, one of my favorite Nike silhouettes that has yet to re-release, and I'm wondering if you worked on it or were around, the Air Zoom Citizen. Do you remember that?
Oh, I love the Citizen. I was working at Fila at the time, and Bob Lucas did that. And I remember I was out for my run on the waterfront in Portland, and somebody ran by in a pair of the prototypes.
Wow.
And I was like, what the heck is that?
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. I liked how different it was. And when I got there, I saw the sketches for it and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, that thing was just so cool. It was one of my favorites.
And then the Spirit on Cage 2 that you did design, like shortly after that, I feel like in a previous conversation you and I had, you told me some of what was happening on the bottom of that shoe was inspired by some of the failures of the Zoom Citizen, right? The way the bag would abrade on the ground, so you had to kind of protect it in the Spirit on.
What they learned from that became the Cage Zoom was the Citizen had the full Zoom bag kind of exposed on the side.
Right.
And as it compressed, the sole would kind of push up into the Zoom bag, and the edge of the Zoom bag would roll over and abrade. And so that's when I think it was, if I remember, it was Kevin Hoffer kind of had and Toby had a telephone cord. Anybody remember what a cord looked like on a telephone? And they had wrapped it around the Zoom bag, and we're thinking of this thing called Cage Zoom. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I went off and I started sketching it, as actually more of this literal little cage versus a coil to protect it. And then I liked the look of the fingers coming up, holding it. And so that's where that kind of language came from for that. And then I wanted those.
We need you to go back and fix the Citizen so they can bring it back out, and Joe can finally be satisfied.
We need you to,
yeah.
For real.
Well, they added a plate to the bottom of it, and that, rather than helping it and wrapping the outsole over it, that exasperated it because the plate shoved up into the bag. So anyway, it's like it went counter to what it was. But I dig this one out because you're talking about me fighting with people and stuff. So people were scared of me a little bit, and when we originally briefed this model, it was briefed for Nike Japan, and the forecast was for 40,000 pairs as a lightweight racing shoe / trainer for Japan. And you'll see that it doesn't have the rubber here. It was all EVA because I wanted it super lightweight. I wanted it inspired by the foot, super flexible. And Dan Jones pulled me in the office and he was like, could you please, would you think about adding some rubber here so that it wouldn't wear out so fast? And I was like, well, it's really meant for the Japanese runners, and they were the ones kind of driving it. And he's like, well, let me explain it to you. I'm like, okay. He goes, if we add just one piece of rubber up in here, we can take it from Japan to global. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and it can go from 40,000 pair to maybe 80,000 pair. I said, well, that makes sense. Sure, I'll do it, Mm-hmm. So I went back and I sketched it, and it came out with the eventual waffle grip in the forefoot that they use on a lot of the regular Japanese training and racing flats. So I added that in there, and Dan was like, thank you, that looks really cool. I think it'll do well. And so when they took it out to book it, it booked 800,000 pairs. So I would say it was pretty successful. And again,
you went from 40,000 units were anticipated, and then it went to 800,000 units.
Yeah.
Wow. Does the designer see? I know we asked you this when we had you on Full Size Run. You don't get royalties off the shoes, but do you get any sort of bonus when a shoe ends up doing 20 times better than expected?
0. I got to keep my job the next day at that point. And so, it did pretty well. And again, if you gave me a reason for doing something as opposed to I think or I want, I'm not designing it for you. I'm designing it for the consumer. And in the end, when a change like that is requested and it's logical,
right.
Okay, you gave me evidence.
You're happy to acquiesce.
Exactly. It's it's based in reality as opposed to someone's emotions, feelings, their insecurity of ooh, yeah, I don't know if we could sell it without rubber on the forefoot. There was a reason for it. If you did that, then this will occur. And I'm like, sounds reasonable, sure. And it was function driven, and it turned out to be the right thing. I mean, that's amazing for a shoe that people were scared of. Like a lot of things I do, people are kind of like, ooh, that's kind of scary. And so to go from 40,000 to 800,000 when it booked in was pretty good. So there was kind of a mad scramble to get production ramped up for that kind of volume
actually to
shift.
make the units. Yeah.
Steven, I think one of the interesting parts about your Nike tenure towards the end, or even after you were no longer with the brand, ended up doing the Vapormax. But the Vapormax is a shoe that, like, it was like your magnum opus that you had started working at Reebok. I remember going to the archives, and they basically showed us a version that you had made, a prototype shoe with Reebok that is the Nike Vapormax. And then you take that idea and concept and then go to Nike, and it took like 15 years from the start of that shoe to when the shoe gets produced and it finally gets put out. And it was kind of like Nike's how they try to combat Adidas a little bit at that moment when the boost was so big. They go to the Vapormax.
It's a huge moment for the Air Max line too.
Yeah,
So what it was is there was the Reebok Diamond collection, and that's where that shoe kind of came from, which was kind of a ultimate leap for what DMX would be, with this fully molded midsole, no foam or anything in between. And so when I was working on the Max 2009, unusual at Nike at the time was designing the air units. It was all done by engineers. IHM, which was in-house manufacturing,
right.
They had engineers over there to do just Nike Air. So it was unusual for a designer, because I'm a weirdo where I problem solve and have mechanical engineering mindset blended with art, which the two just hate each other typically. And I would hang out with the engineers because I'd want to know how stuff was done, and the other designers like, why are you talking to them? Because they're going to help me make my dreams come true of what the product can be. And so when I was working on the Max 2009, we went from the 360 with the rigid cage on it. We wanted to get rid of that cage because it made the shoe really stiff. And, it was a nice intro to the full Visi unit,
right.
but it didn't, it was kind of clunky and didn't flex in the right places. So Chris Cook, who was my development guy, he and I looked at it and were like, let's make this thing for runners first, as opposed to just make an air unit. And so we went back in and we reevaluated it, redesigned it, perfected, honed it. And then while I was at it, being in innovation, I created the next 2 iterations of what full-length Air would become. And it was this modular unit, and one version was splitting it into 2 parts, kind of Fury-like, of a 4-foot and a heel, so you could have independent. But with the Air mindset of having a softer 4-foot lower pressure and a slightly higher pressure in the heel, so you could separate them and tune it. And then from that was the third one with the pods of even more like the bone structure on your foot for independent motion and fluid motion. And that series of sketches after I left running looks like it evolved into the Vapormax tooling.
Crazy.
Such a big moment.
I know that
Big push for Nike.
You remember how big the Vapormax was when it first came out?
Absolutely. I have like 3 pairs and like wore them at the gym. Like there was
Acronyms.
there was a time where I was
yeah.
wearing them like in every facet of my life.
A lot of it is, again, not designing the whole shoe that would become
Right.
the retail Vapormax. It's like
But the idea.
the ingredients, the platform, and the chassis.
So, Steven, I think the reason most people really became familiar with your name in this world of sneaker culture, I know people don't love that term, but we'll say sneaker culture right now, is your most recent work, which is at Kanye West's Yeezy, making these sneakers, making all sorts of boost models, and I think even the shoes Joe has on his feet right now, and
Wave runners.
and
Wave
500s.
runners.
How much can we talk about Yeezy and what happens at Yeezy, Steven? Because I know sometimes not a lot.
Not a lot.
Okay. What about the shoes that already come out? Like, do you pay attention when a new Yeezy sneaker comes out, something like the 450 or the Foam Runner that is so daring, which is a characteristic of a lot of your work? And do you pay attention to how people receive it when it comes out? Do you watch Instagram comments to see if people like it or not? Or
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the minute spy shot's shown, I want to see what people are thinking, you know, and you're like, oh man, don't say shit like that about it, you know, and then when it comes out, things sell out in under a minute. I mean, you can't argue with it. So it embodies a lot of my career, and again, ultimately, keep in mind, Kanye is the creative director without a doubt. He guides me and other designers through the process of what he's inspired by and looking for, and we inspire each other. You know, we send imagery to each other all day long. You know, some of those are sparks to go off and create things people have never seen before, and like a lot of the designs I've worked on, they can be polarizing, but those polarizing ones are the ones that become these icons. You know, think of when the Wave Runner came out, it looked like nothing contemporary at the time. Everything was Roshis and 350s and one-piece upper stuff, and this thing comes out with like 30 pieces that was basically like a futuristic version of the stuff I started doing at New Balance. And that's kind of what the Wave Runner embodied was, what if I still worked at New Balance? What would I be creating with Kanye? And that's kind of the mindset of what birthed that. It's very different how we create and work. And there's a team of people, and many hands touch things.
Right.
Part of my place is to spark new ideas, new aesthetics, where things came from, new geometry, new language. If you think of the foam runner, you know that the ultimate design was done by Kanye and one of the young Adidas designers, but the language of it came from this really loose sketch I had done for some other stuff, the ellipses, that language that evolved from the 700 language, you know, that's in the midsole sidewall. So yeah, I mean, it's a very different way of thinking and working than most people can comprehend. I mean, it's magic. It's magic. There's nothing quite like it. It's a creative unleashing like no place I've ever been.
You talk about polarizing products and like your career of disruption. Do you think in 2021 you could have been anywhere else, or do you really feel like Yeezy is the perfect fit for you?
I think looking at this point in my career, Yeezy's a perfect place for me because I've got an advocate of design, an advocate of disruption, a disruptor, a fellow disruptor.
Yeah.
You know, and that's part of why we jive so well. It's like we just want to change the game constantly and refresh it and reset it. Kanye and I had these early conversations where, you know, we talked about that as a concept of the future we were promised from the 50s and the 60s, you know, flying cars
Right.
and all kinds of crazy ass shit. People wearing like silver space suits, and we're wearing the same old shit we've been wearing for 50 years. You know, I mean, why not offer people that future we were promised that we never got? Break the paradigm, escape the matrix. You know, and that's kind of the things we do. Show the people the future that we can see. You know, we had these conversations about relevance of time and place. You know, past, present, future. There's the now, and we're in the now. And you know, Kanye was like, when you were doing the Fury, you were in the now. That's the future. Everybody else was just left behind you. And it's you look at it again. You know. 35 years that shoe's been around, it still looks like it's from the future.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what's so interesting about all of this. I mean, maybe I did, you know, like Nikola Tesla would always say, he got in his sleep or in a dream state, he got these visions of the future. You know, maybe it's aliens sending him messages. Who knows what it is? Maybe you're a mental time traveler. I don't know. You know, I got a gift. And I got a person who appreciates the gift with me, who has his own gift, and together we're doing really cool things for the world.
So are you like the Elon Musk of sneakers to some degree, Steven?
I don't know. I'm not a millionaire.
Are you a billionaire?
No, I wish. But I look at it kind of more as the Tesla. You know, I mean, Tesla.
Nikola
died
Tesla, not the
somewhat-
brand Tesla.
Yeah, no, not the car. The inventor,
Got it.
the scientist, the futurist. You know, he was going head to head with Edison, but all the things, you know, they thought Tesla was out of his fucking mind.
Does that make
And-
Tinker Hatfield Edison? Who's Edison in this narrative?
I don't know. I mean, we're friends. It's different.
Yeah.
You know, and Tesla started out as working in Edison's lab with him.
So Tinker
Yeah.
might be Edison in
But-
the metaphor.
But Steven, what was it like for you? Because I know early on, me and you had a history because I had interviewed you for a story, and you had talked about how you work on the Wave Runner. Obviously, you send me a frantic phone call saying that if I don't take the story down, that like you're going to lose your job at Yeezy. But then all these years later, you know, Kanye brings you out at I believe it was the business. Oh my God,
Fast Company?
the Fast
Yes.
Company Summit, and it's kind of like, you know, you're the wizard to the Wizard of Oz that they unveil, and they're like, here's the guy helping design the shoes. Like, what was that moment like for you to find?
Again, there's a lot of people, but Kanye just decided at one point, you know, you can go out there and be a voice for it because people want to know about it. But I still can't tell a lot. You know, it's all secret and NDAs, and I can give snippets and glimpses to things that are already out or have already been said. It's a very different environment. You know, you have to respect people's privacies and what they, you know, it's a mutual respect with him.
Right.
What he asked me to keep secret, I do. You know, it's just a respect as a friend above and beyond the working environment. And so that's what I respect with him, and I respect the friendship above and beyond the working relationship as creatives. It's a brotherhood more than anything. I mean, he's introduced me to all kinds of amazing people that you find out later that you influence, and without my career, these people wouldn't have their ability to create and do the amazing things that they do for the marketplace. You know, like Fonz Bentley. I mean, guys who inspire me back, and I inspire them, and it's really cool. And Don C. You know, Don C's become like a great friend.
Love that. One of the best voices of all time.
Oh, I love Don. He's one of my all-time favorite people.
Absolutely.
And so to me, it's like it's gotten those guys to meet the guy who did the stuff that they, you know, kind of like with Kanye.
Yeah.
I designed the shoes he wanted.
Yep.
And these guys were part of that group, and the guys going to Paris. And so it's kind of cool to meet all those guys and cross-pollinate with all of it and create together and be a bigger part of the culture. And that's what's so magic about all of it. You become collaborators and friends more than anything. Again, I'd love to talk more about the creation side of it and stuff, but I just...
Of course. No. We respect it.
Steven, I have one question. We always talk about on this podcast that like owning a pair of Yeezys now is like such like a badge of honor, whether it's the 350s or the 500. And I know that you wear the Wave Runners like nonstop. You beat them, you do lace swaps. If you could give like one Yeezy to own or one of your everyday wears, what would you like recommend? It doesn't have to be of all time, but right now, what would you recommend?
I mean, I like the Wave Runner for the comfort, because that's what you were after.
Mm-hmm.
It was a comfortable shoe that legitimately had running DNA. I mean, if you wanted to, you could go run 5-10 miles in them.
Have you ever run in them?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome.
I mean, I ran 5 miles in 350s and
Wow.
sent Kanye a video. of it.
Weren't you like wearing jeans and running in Yeezys at one
Yeah.
point?
What?
Steven,
He sent me the high five emoji, like, bro, you ran 5 miles.
this is the future. We can't be running
Wow.
in jeans.
We need you in the Bape Kid Cudi hoodie next with the wave runners running.
You know, it's funny.
Zipped up.
It's funny. I posted that picture just 'cause, you know, I like Cudi. He's awesome. He's a cool guy. I like the Bape stuff, and if I was gonna get one Bape thing, why not get something that is a guy
Yes.
you respect,
A friend.
who likes your design.
Yep.
So I got that one, and I posted that picture on my Instagram, and it was funny. There's this great IG account called Boston Be a Man, and it's pretty freaking funny. It's stand-up comedy. And I posted some comment on there, and some like 20-year-old punk kid was like, "Yo, what are you doing wearing hype beast shit, wearing that stuff as a 50-year-old man, dude? Be a man."
Been there.
And I'm like, go fuck yourself. You know? It's like, I got news for you. I can wear it.
Love it. I love it.
And you were off by about 6 years, so I'm like 56, so it's even better.
Steven, I love that you've kind of like taken on another life though with the whole fit pick game. I was joking around with the guys before the shoot that you kind of have like the Family Matters when Steve Urkel goes to Stefan alternate persona where you throw on the head to toe fit and let these kids know how to hook up the sneakers on the internet. Like, what's the reaction that you've gotten out besides the Cudi, but like from the fit pics on IG?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. That's one of the first ones where anybody had anything talking shit. I mean, most of them like them because, I mean, they want to see how someone involved in the creation process
Trying to give them the blueprint.
Yeah.
And some of it is stuff I see that inspired me for some of those products, you know. Safety gear. I did the orange 700 minivan.
I love that one.
Tresser and I worked on together. And I saw this rain suit at the motorcycle store, and I'm like, dude, that's the perfect hookup for that shoe. I got to buy it. And, you know, and I got motorcycles, so I put that one on. And some of that inspiration for that was we were way into safety gear and when we were in Chicago. And because we went to visit manufacturers there of stuff just to be inspired. And, you know, when we got there, Kanye was like, bro, just go experience the city. Don't even, you don't have to draw anything right now. Just go soak it in. So I did, and I went and visited like safety gear manufacturers and stuff, and some of those things become infused into the DNA of what we're about because it's what he's about or interested in at that time. And you can see where it infused into the product. So to me, it was like, that's the hookup, you know? And it was I think it was a great fit.
Steven, last thing I just want to ask you is that I know you have the shoe right behind you, the 450, newest Yeezy this year. Some people say they look like dumplings for your feet. What's your reaction to that shoe being so, you know, kind of disruptive in the market at this point? Did you think that was going to happen?
Oh, of course. You know, it's very different, and you saw the reaction to people when the early teases were out. But, you know, people were interested in it. You saw when Kanye did the Forbes article with the rings of the prototypes, and kids were zooming in on every variation they could see on it, wondering which one was it going to be. And, you know, that's part of the fun of all of it is the mystery and show me something I've never seen before. That's the challenge I always give the young designers. And it was something people hadn't seen before. But why do just another Air Force One or something when you can do something where people are like, what is that? It still works. I mean, it's a sculptural piece at this point more than just a sneaker, you know, and that's what's so cool about it is we do create art. I got an art degree. Why wouldn't I create art in what I do and what Kanye does, you know, and that's what we're about. We're about art, disruption, things people have never seen before. And that's what we bring to it.
Steven, I got to ask you about one more sneaker too. The Hello Kitty Nike Air Presto. I believe you worked on that shoe. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. We don't have to go into the full breakdown of the history of the sneaker, but I'm hearing some rumors that the sneaker is coming back next year. Maybe rumors is a mischaracterization,
I don't know
but
what they'd tell me.
I believe the shoe may be coming back next year. I don't need you to confirm it, but are you excited about that? Are you going to get a pair?
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. Hopefully they'll give me a pair.
You need to be first in line for the Hello Kitty Presto Retro.
Yeah,
if
that
it
would be
happens. I
funny.
can't confirm it yet. If it happens.
It was funny that particular project. I'm a dork. I brought my lunch every day in a Hello Kitty lunch bag, and I would get a different one whenever I would see it at the Japanese store or if I went to
Owajimaya?
Tokyo. Yeah, I would go to Owajimaya, get it there. There was a little place in the Beaverton Mall called Shira Smile that was a Sanrio store. They had the little kit lunch packs, and I would make my lunch in that, and yeah. So when it came time in Japan, Sanrio was doing a 35th anniversary of Hello Kitty, like her 31st birthday or whatever, and they asked a bunch of different companies to do some kind of product for it, and that was kind of the origin of it. And Mark Parker knew that I loved Sanrio stuff and I loved Japan.
He said, get the guy with the Hello Kitty lunchbox on this one ASAP.
That's the guy.
He came up and he was like, "Hey Steven, would you be interested in working on this?" He goes, you always have all the Hello Kitty stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be kind of fun." So with Keiko Kanishi, who was my developer for Nike Japan, she acted as the interface into Sanrio. And I went off and I started to bust out a bunch of Illustrator drawings of variations of Hello Kitty and twisting the graphic and being very literal. And Hiroshi did one that was just the characters, and he just sent me a graphic sheet of that. So I rearranged it and I applied it to the shoe, and then I did about 10 other different ones that were original designs that I came up with, and I think we sampled 7 of them, and then Sanrio picked like 4 or 5 that they went through with, and they were supposed to make 500, I think, of each of the different styles, and it turned out that it didn't work out that way, that they only did somewhere between 10 and 24 pairs of each style. So
super rare.
that's why they became so coveted. And I had the samples of the ones that they didn't even make the 10 or 12 of, and I since it's Illustrator, I have all the OG files for the Hello Kitty graphics and the shoes. So it was it was a really fun one. I mean, I never knew it was going to become this like cult madness behind it.
Well, hopefully you get a new pair if they come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and one of the fun things I got at Owajimaya was the Hello Kitty waffle maker, and it's shaped like Hello Kitty's head, and you open it up, and inside are 4 castings. One's Mimi, which is Hello Kitty's sister.
Yeah.
Hello Kitty, My Melody, and I can't remember what the bear's name is, but it was
Batsmaru?
No, Batsmaru's a penguin. It was the bear.
I don't know, man. I never knew what animals they were.
Maybe I don't think it's not Pum Pum Purin, but it's Batsmaru was my favorite. I would have been giddy if he was in the waffle maker, but he wasn't. So once a year, I would bring in the Hello Kitty waffler unannounced. I would get to Nike at like 6:45, and I would make all my pancake batter before I left home, and I would make and of course, because I was out here, all the maple syrup was from Canada, and which is like, no, it's got to be Vermont maple syrup.
Yeah.
So my mom would send me a
Gotta
big
be
thing
legit.
of maple syrup from. Yeah, that's right. My mom sent me a big thing of maple syrup from Vermont, and once a year, I would make everyone in Mia Hamm who would go by for like 2 hours. I would get out my Hello Kitty waffle maker, and I would make Hello Kitty waffles for anybody going by. And it kind of became like this little famous thing in there. People are like, when are you going to do it again? I'm like,
That's history right there.
That is history.
I was like, it's my determination when I will do it. It's not a fixed date. It's just when I feel like it. Once a year. And that night, I would send out an email to everybody that just said meow. And then the next morning, if you remembered what it was, you would get delicious Hello Kitty waffles with Vermont maple syrup, the only kind to have.
Well,
So yeah, who would have thought the guy on?
who would have thought?
Yeah.
Listen, Stephen, we can't thank you enough for taking the time. So many great stories to share. And we hope we could do this like every 6 months because we know that you're always creating. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Steven.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of fun stuff going on. Lots of cool stuff going on. Lots of people I've influenced who influence me, Lots of, one of my favorites right now, is Charlotte Lee doing the 327.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
This one's awesome because it's the Jolly Rancher one. It was the one I had to have. So she's making me proud, carrying forth the New Balance lineage. And so it's cool. Like I said, it's cool to inspire these young kids to create. And like I always say, it wasn't really a career at the time. It was something new that, those people like myself, Kilgore, Tinker, Wilson Smith, we made it interesting enough for other people to want to do it, made it cool and fun because we were all fucking whacked in our head, and we made it fun. Yeah. And it's fun. And, the other thing, my parting words are, I never once on a job description saw ass kisser, but silently in invisible ink was ass kicker, and so that's what I became.
And waffle maker.
And waffle maker, Hello Kitty waffle maker, no less.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Thanks again, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Appreciate it, Steven.
Thank you, Steven.
So many stories.
I don't get to critique any designs this time.
No.
Not this time.
I was looking forward to that.
We'll send you some via text.
Take care. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are actually off next week, so we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Make sure you like and subscribe, and have a great weekend.
That's all, folks.